You want to control your life, then start by controlling your mouth. The words that come out of your mouth are the first clues to what kind of person you really are. People love to talk about discipline, grind, and focus, but every time something gets hard, they open their mouths and let weakness pour out. You hear it everywhere. Complaints, excuses, stories about why something couldn't be done. That's not strength. That's self-destruction in disguise. Every time you speak those words, you're reinforcing the idea that you're a victim, that you don't have control. And that's a lie. You do have control. You just don't use it. Most people don't realize their mouth is the engine of their mindset. What you say becomes what you think, and what you think becomes what you do. The problem is, most people have trained their mouths to sabotage them. They talk themselves out of greatness. I can't do it. It's too hard. I'm tired. Those words don't just describe reality. They create it. You keep saying you're tired, and your body will believe it. You keep saying you can't, and you never will. Your mouth becomes your enemy long before the world ever does. You've got to develop the discipline to shut your mouth when weakness wants to speak. When you feel like complaining, when you want to talk about how unfair life is, stop. Bite your tongue if you have to. Because those moments are when your brain is looking for validation to stay soft. And every time you give in, you feed the part of you that wants to quit. You don't realize how powerful your words are until you start controlling them. When you stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I will, your entire physiology changes. Your brain starts looking for solutions instead of exits. That's how transformation starts, not with motivation, not with inspiration, but with mastering what you allow to come out of your mouth. Control your mouth, and you'll start controlling your mood. It's all connected. When you speak negativity, your mood follows it. You complain enough, you start to believe the world is against you. You talk down to yourself, and soon enough, you start to move like you're not capable of anything better. But when you flip the script, when you decide that only strong, accountable words are allowed to come out of your mouth, you shift your energy. You can't speak strength and stay weak. You can't speak discipline and live sloppy. The mouth sets the tone for everything that follows. People think it's harmless to vent, to let it all out, to keep it real. But that's not keeping it real. That's keeping yourself trapped. Every time you vent, you're pouring gasoline on your frustration instead of building the fire to change. You think you're relieving pressure, but you're actually reinforcing your limitations. The real ones, the ones who are in control, they don't talk about how hard it is. They show up and get it done. They understand that words are currency, and they don't spend them cheap. Control your mouth, and your money will start to follow. Because discipline in one area of your life bleeds into all others. You can't be reckless with your words, but wise with your wallet. It doesn't work like that. Both require restraint. Both require patience. The same impulse that makes you speak without thinking is the same impulse that makes you spend without purpose. It's the same lack of control showing up in different forms. Once you learn to control your mouth, you start building that muscle of self-regulation. You become more intentional with what you say, what you buy, what you chase, and what you allow. And that's how you start building real stability. The truth is, most people's mouths are louder than their work ethic. They talk about what they're going to do instead of doing it. They make promises they never intend to keep. They say they're grinding while they're sitting still. But talk doesn't build anything. Talk is easy. Talk is cheap. You can't speak your way into success if your actions don't back it up. Every word you say needs to have weight behind it. It needs to mean something. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you say you'll change, change. When you say, I'm done with excuses, shut your mouth and prove it. You can't control your mouth without controlling your mind. The two are connected like fire and oxygen. The mind thinks and the mouth releases. But if the mind is undisciplined, the mouth becomes reckless. You'll speak from emotion instead of clarity. You'll lash out, complain, gossip, lie, whatever gives you that momentary relief. But that's weakness. Real strength is when you feel that chaos rising inside you and you decide, not today. You take a deep breath and you speak only what builds, not what breaks. That's control. That's mastery. And don't think this is about being quiet all the time. This is about speaking with purpose. When you open your mouth, your words should be tools, not weapons against yourself. You should speak life, not limitations. You should speak accountability, not excuses. You should speak direction, not distraction. People who have no control over their mouths have no control over their destiny because they waste their energy talking instead of acting. Every time you speak weakness, you're giving it power. Every time you speak strength, you're building resilience. Choose which one you want more. When you start controlling your mouth, people around you will notice. They'll notice that you don't engage in the usual gossip. You don't complain. You don't waste time talking about what you're going to do. You just do it. And that silence becomes intimidating. It makes people uncomfortable because they realize you're not playing the same game anymore. You're not living for approval or attention. You're living for mastery. That's when you start separating yourself from the crowd. The crowd runs their mouths. The few control theirs. It's not easy. You'll slip up. You'll catch yourself saying something weak, something negative. But that's the test. That's the moment where you either stay soft or sharpen yourself. You stop mid-sentence and correct it. You build awareness. You start noticing how often you speak doubt, how often you use your own voice to destroy your own confidence. And then slowly you replace that with discipline. You start speaking only what serves your mission. And once you master that, everything else, your mood, your money, your mind, falls in line. Because controlling your mouth isn't just about what you say. It's about who you decide to be. Every word is a choice between staying where you are and becoming who you're meant to be. You can't be powerful and careless with your words. You can't be focused and constantly distracted by emotion. You've got to choose precision. You've got to choose silence when weakness wants to speak. You've got to choose words that reinforce strength, discipline, and growth. That's the foundation of self-control. That's where all power begins. So yeah, control your mouth. Don't let your mouth write checks your mindset can't cash. Don't speak like a victim and expect to live like a warrior. Don't use your words to describe your pain. Use them to define your purpose. Every sentence is a weapon. Every word is a tool. Use them wisely. Control your mouth and you'll control your world. Because if you can't master your tongue, you'll never master your mind. And if you can't master your mind, you'll stay stuck in the same place, talking about what could have been instead of becoming what should have been. Your mood is the biggest liar you'll ever meet. It will tell you that you're tired when you've barely started, that you're done when you've barely tried. It will whisper that you need a break, that today isn't the day, that tomorrow will be better. And if you listen to it long enough, you'll build a life around feelings instead of discipline. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. They're ruled by their moods. They let emotions make their decisions, dictate their habits, and control their direction. But you can't live like that and expect to win. If you want control over your life, you've got to take back control from your mood. Every time you say, I don't feel like it, that's your weakness speaking. It's your comfort zone dressing itself up as logic. Your mood doesn't care about your goals. It doesn't care about your purpose, your vision, or the promises you made to yourself. It just wants comfort. It just wants peace now, even if that means pain later. And if you let that dictate your actions, you'll never break through anything real. You'll stay trapped in cycles of starting strong and fading fast. That's why the greatest war you'll ever fight isn't against the world. It's against the part of you that listens to your emotions more than your mission. You've got to learn to move without permission from your feelings. When your mood says stop, you keep going. When it says rest, you push harder. That's how you build mental armor. People wait for motivation, but motivation is just a mood. It comes and goes. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask. Discipline executes. Every time you act in spite of your emotions, you're teaching your body and mind who's in charge. That's how you build control. That's how you build power. Your mood wants you soft. It wants you reactive. It wants you emotional instead of focused. You can't control every situation, but you can always control your reaction. That's where strength lies. Something goes wrong, someone disrespects you, life hits hard. What do? Most people explode, complain, shut down, or lose focus. They let the mood take the wheel. And every time you do that, you lose a piece of yourself. You let chaos take the lead. But if you can stay calm in those moments, if you can hold your composure when everything inside you wants to break, you're becoming dangerous. Because now, the world can't move you so easily. You start realizing that most things don't deserve your reaction. The world will keep testing you. Bad days, rude people, failure, disappointment. It's not personal, it's training. Every situation that tries to pull you off balance is giving you a choice. React emotionally or respond with control. You don't always get to choose what happens, but you always get to choose your energy. Control that, and your whole life changes. When you control your mood, you protect your energy. And when your energy is steady, your focus becomes lethal. You stop wasting time being angry, frustrated, or hurt over things that don't move you closer to your purpose. You stop letting small problems drain your power. You start saving that energy for what matters. Your goals, your growth, your mission. That's how you move from chaos to clarity. Most people never get there because they're addicted to emotional drama. They need to feel something all the time. But emotion without direction is destruction. You've got to feel deeply but act deliberately. That's balance. And here's the truth. Your mood will never stay the same. It's designed to fluctuate. Some days you'll wake up sharp, focused, ready. Other days you'll wake up foggy, heavy, not in the mood. That's life. You can't control that. But what you can control is your response. You can still show up. You can still do the work. You can still push through. When you start showing up regardless of how you feel, your mind learns that emotions aren't commands. They're just noise. And when you stop obeying noise, you find peace. Controlling your mood doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being emotionally disciplined. You still feel things, you just don't let them drive. You feel anger, but choose focus. You feel sadness, but choose movement. You feel doubt, but choose action. That's control. That's what separates professionals from amateurs, warriors from wanderers. You can't master your mind if you keep surrendering to every feeling that passes through it. And here's the connection: control your mood, and you'll start controlling your mouth. Because most of the time, people say things they regret when they're emotional. They speak from reaction instead of reason. They let anger or pain pour out through their words, and then they have to clean up the mess later. When your mood is steady, your mouth stays disciplined. You don't lash out. You don't gossip. You don't complain. You respond with precision. That's how you build strength. Not by pretending you don't feel, but by mastering how you express what you feel. Your mood also controls how you handle money. Ever notice how people spend emotionally? They buy things to feel better, to fill emptiness, to escape stress. That's mood-driven behavior. When you learn to control your emotional state, you stop wasting money on comfort. You stop trading long-term growth for short-term relief. You start making decisions from logic, not impulse. That's what real control looks like. And it doesn't stop there. Your mood shapes your mind. If you let emotions run wild, your thoughts will follow. You'll spiral into negativity, overthinking, anxiety. But if you anchor yourself, if you remind yourself that feelings are temporary, you quiet that storm. The mind becomes still, sharp, clear. You can see reality as it is, not as your emotions distort it. That's when you start making powerful decisions. That's when you stop reacting and start creating. Every day, you're going to face moments where your mood will try to dictate your movement. Maybe it's 5 a.m. and you don't want to get up. Maybe someone said something that pissed you off. Maybe the day feels heavy and pointless. That's the battle right there. That's the test. Do you give in to that feeling, or do you take control? The moment you act against your mood is the moment you prove to yourself that you're stronger than your emotions. That's where confidence comes from. Confidence isn't built in comfort. It's built in those moments when you take action despite resistance. You can't wait for the right mood to change your life. You've got to move first, feel later, because feelings follow actions, not the other way around. The longer you wait to feel good before you move, the weaker you become. But when you move first, when you push through, you start to notice something. Your mood catches up. You feel better because you acted. You feel stronger because you overcame. The secret to controlling your mood is realizing it was never supposed to control you in the first place. Every great person who's built something meaningful learned how to operate beyond their emotions. They didn't wait for motivation. They didn't let anger or sadness make them quit. They kept moving. That's the difference between the ones who talk and the ones who do. Between the ones who plan and the ones who execute. The ones who live in control of their mood don't waste energy fighting themselves. They channel it. They use emotion as fuel, not a cage. So when your mood starts talking, listen, but don't obey. Hear it, understand it, but move anyway. You can feel pain and still make progress. You can feel doubt and still take action. You can feel tired and still get it done. That's real strength. That's real control. And when you master that, you'll realize this controlling your mood is the bridge between chaos and clarity, weakness and power, excuses and excellence. Control your mood and you'll control your mouth, your money, and your mind. Because everything starts with the decision to stop being a slave to how you feel and start being a master of what you do. Money doesn't just test your wallet. It tests your discipline, your patience, and your mindset. The way you handle money says everything about how you handle life. People think money problems are about numbers, but they're really about habits. They're about control. The same person who can't control their mouth or mood usually can't control their money either. It's all connected. The same lack of discipline showing up in different disguises. Money just exposes what's already inside you. If you're careless, impulsive, or emotional, your bank account will tell the truth before your mouth ever does. You can't build wealth with a broke mentality. And I'm not talking about being poor. I'm talking about being mentally broke. The kind of broke where you spend to impress, where you chase comfort instead of purpose, where you trade long-term freedom for short-term pleasure. That's not a money issue. That's a mindset issue. You can hand a fool $1 million and they'll lose it because they never learned discipline. You can hand a disciplined person $100 and they'll find a way to multiply it because they understand control. It's not about how much you make. It's about how much control you have over what you make. Most people don't control money. Money controls them. They work jobs they hate because they're trapped by the lifestyle they built just to look successful. They spend to escape instead of investing to evolve. Every time they feel stressed, they buy something to feel better. That's emotional spending, and it's the same as emotional eating, emotional talking, emotional reacting. It's weakness wearing a price tag, and you can't grow if your money decisions are controlled by emotion. Money isn't meant to soothe you. It's meant to serve you. You've got to get to a place where you control your money with the same discipline you control your mouth. You don't waste words, and you don't waste dollars. You don't talk for validation, and you don't spend for attention. You only invest in your growth, in your peace, in your purpose. That's what control looks like. Every dollar becomes a soldier, and every soldier needs a mission. You don't let them wander aimlessly into junk and nonsense. You put them to work, building something real, something that lasts. When you start controlling your money, you start realizing how much of life is built around distraction. Companies spend billions trying to manipulate your mood so they can manipulate your wallet. They want you emotional, impulsive, and reactive. Because people who can't control their emotions can't control their money either. The ads, the trends, the pressure, they're all built to trigger that part of you that craves comfort and approval. And if you don't have control, you'll give in. You'll buy the illusion of success instead of building the reality of it. Real control starts when you stop chasing status and start chasing stability. You stop caring about who thinks you're winning and start caring about actually winning. That's when you start saving, investing, planning. Not because it feels good, but because it's necessary. You stop trying to look rich and start trying to become free. Freedom. That's the real reason to control your money. Not for luxury, not for bragging rights, but for the ability to live life on your terms. To not be owned by debt, by jobs, by stress. Control your money and you take back control of your time, the most valuable currency you'll ever have. But that control starts small. It starts with the same mindset you use to control your mood in your mouth. It's saying no when you want to say yes. It's patience when everyone else is impulsive. It's discipline when everyone else is distracted. That's how wealth is built, not overnight, but through thousands of small, consistent decisions. Every time you resist the urge to spend for comfort, you're training your brain to prioritize long-term reward over short-term relief. That's the same muscle that helps you control your emotions, your habits, your reactions. You'll never meet a person who's disciplined with money, but chaotic in life. The habits don't separate. If you can control your finances, it means you can delay gratification, plan ahead, think strategically. Those are the same traits that make you powerful in every other area. Money management is self-management, and self-management is life management. You can't fake that. You can't speak discipline while living recklessly. You can't complain about being broke while spending like you're rich. Your actions reveal what you value, and if you value control, your bank account will show it. There's a reason most people never get ahead financially. They live in reaction mode. They spend because they're bored, tired, stressed, or insecure. That's mood-driven money. It's the same loop as emotional outbursts or self-sabotage. You feel discomfort, and instead of facing it, you escape it with spending. But that comfort fades fast, and now you've got less money and the same problem. The only way out is awareness, noticing the pattern and choosing differently. You've got to pause before you purchase and ask yourself, is this making me stronger or weaker? If it's not building you, it's breaking you. And don't confuse control with scarcity. This isn't about being afraid to spend. It's about being intentional. You can still enjoy life, but enjoyment should come from what you've earned through discipline, not what you've borrowed from your future through impulse. Control doesn't mean you never reward yourself. It means you earn your rewards. You create systems, not chaos. You use money as a tool, not a crutch. You spend to build memories, not to mask misery. Once you start controlling your money, your mood starts to stabilize too. You worry less because you're prepared more. You stop living paycheck to paycheck mentally. You stop being desperate for validation or escape because your life has structure. You gain confidence, not from what you buy, but from knowing you're in control. That control bleeds into everything. You speak with more conviction. You think with more clarity. You move with more purpose. You stop chasing feelings and start creating results. And just like with your mouth and mood, you'll be tested. You'll have moments where you want to break your own rules, moments where you want to give in. Maybe it's a big purchase. Maybe it's something small. But those moments are the same tests life gives in every form. Are you still in control? And if you fail, you don't make excuses. You adjust, you learn, you grow, you get sharper. Because control isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and correction. When you truly control your money, you stop letting the world manipulate you. You stop needing validation. You stop living for appearance. You start operating from purpose. That's freedom. And once you feel that kind of freedom, you'll never go back. You'll realize that discipline isn't a restriction. It's a weapon. It's what allows you to stay calm when everyone else is panicking. It's what keeps you steady when times get rough. When others are emotional, you're logical. When others react, you respond. Money doesn't change people. It exposes them. If you can't control 100, you won't control 1,000,000. If you can't say no to small temptations, you won't survive big opportunities. The goal isn't to get rich, it's to get right. To build the kind of mindset that can handle abundance without self-destruction. That's real success, not what's in your bank, but what's in your mind. Because at the end of the day, controlling your money is really about controlling your mind. You can't separate them. Money management is mental management. The mind tells the hands where to put the money, and the habits follow. If your mind is scattered, your money will be too. But when your mind is sharp, calm, and focused, your money moves the same way. It becomes a reflection of your order, your discipline, your control. So control your money, not for greed, not for image, but for mastery. Mastery over impulse, over weakness, over fear. Mastery over the part of you that wants everything now and destroys everything later. When you can tell your emotions no and your logic yes, you've already won. Because that's not just financial discipline, that's life discipline. And when you master that, everything else, your mouth, your mood, your mind will follow the same rhythm of strength and control. The mind is the real battlefield. Everything you want, everything you fear, everything you fail to do, it all begins and ends in your head. Most people lose the war before it even starts because they don't realize their mind isn't their ally by default. The mind's first instinct is to protect you, not to push you. It's wired for comfort, not for greatness. It whispers excuses, amplifies fear, and feeds doubt. It convinces you to play safe, to stay still, to stop when things get hard. That voice inside your head isn't evil. It's just lazy. It wants the easy way out. And if you don't learn to control it, it will control you. You've got to understand one thing: your mind doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about survival. It's built to keep you alive, not to make you exceptional. That's why it panics when you push your limits, when you step into the unknown, when you start doing something uncomfortable. It floods you with reasons to stop. It tells you you're tired, you're not ready, it's not worth it. And if you believe that voice, you'll never see what's on the other side of that wall. The key is not to silence the mind, it's to dominate it. You've got to become louder than your doubt, stronger than your fear, and sharper than your hesitation. Controlling your mind doesn't happen overnight. It's built through daily reps of discomfort. Every time you feel like quitting and you push one more round, that's control. Every time you want to explode but you breathe instead, that's control. Every time you choose discipline over emotion, you're teaching your mind who's boss. Most people try to train their bodies, but they never train their minds. And that's why they keep breaking down. The body can only go as far as the mind allows. You can be in perfect shape physically, but still lose if your head isn't locked in. Your mind is a powerful weapon, but if you don't master it, it turns on you. It becomes your greatest enemy, the one that sabotages every goal you set. You'll start wars with yourself, talk yourself out of opportunities, doubt your abilities, and justify your failures. That's what happens when your mind runs wild with no discipline. It becomes a constant battlefield of emotion and logic, comfort and growth, fear and action. The only way to win is to take control, to make your mind obey, not negotiate. When you control your mind, you control your mouth, your mood, and your money. It all starts here. The words that come out of your mouth begin as thoughts. The emotions that shift your mood start in the mind. The decisions that guide your money are born from thought patterns. Everything is rooted in the mental space. If your mind is scattered, your life will be scattered. If your mind is calm, your life becomes structured. That's why mastering your mind is the ultimate form of power. It's the root of all discipline. The mind has two voices. One tells you to stay where it's safe. The other tells you to move forward no matter what. The problem is, most people keep feeding the wrong one. They listen to the voice of comfort because it feels good. It tells them what they want to hear. But that voice is a liar. It tells you rest when you should rise, quit when you should continue, talk when you should work. You have to stop listening to that voice and start feeding the one that pushes you. The more you act on discipline, the stronger that second voice gets. Eventually, it drowns out the weak one. Control isn't about shutting off emotion. It's about managing it. You're human. You're going to feel tired, angry, scared, frustrated. That's fine, but feelings don't get to make decisions. The mind has to stay in charge. You can feel weak and still act strong. You can feel fear and still move forward. That's real mental control, not the absence of emotion, but the ability to move through it. When you can do that, nothing can stop you, because no circumstance can dictate your action. People love to talk about mindset, but few understand it's not something you switch on with a quote or a motivational video. Mindset is built in silence. It's built in those moments when no one's watching, when you choose to do the work, when you push past comfort and keep going. It's not about feeling invincible. It's about acting disciplined, even when you feel broken. Every rep, every sacrifice, every time you go against your weakness, you're programming your mind to be stronger. That's how you rewire it from reactive to resilient. And once you start controlling your mind, life begins to slow down in the best way. The noise fades. You stop getting triggered by every challenge, every setback, every opinion. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding with strategy. You stop running from pain and start using it as fuel. That's when you know you've got control. When chaos doesn't shake you, when pressure doesn't make you fold, when the voice in your head that used to scream, "Stop," now says, "Keep going." The truth is, no one escapes the voice of doubt. It's always there. The difference is the strong have trained their minds to coexist with it without obeying it. They hear it, but they don't give it authority. They know the voice of weakness will always try to talk them out of doing what's hard, but they've learned that everything worth having lives on the other side of that voice. The moment you push through it, your life expands, your limits stretch, your self-belief grows. That's how you take control, not by eliminating fear, but by acting in spite of it. Your mind can either be your prison or your weapon. For most people, it's the first. They're trapped inside their own thoughts, overthinking every move, worrying about opinions, drowning in self-doubt. They don't need enemies. Their own mind does all the damage. But when you learn to flip the script, when you train your thoughts like you train your body, your mind becomes your weapon. It starts working for you, not against you. It becomes the sharpest tool you have, the one that cuts through fear, laziness, and weakness. Controlling your mind means mastering focus. Focus is rare now. The world is designed to pull your attention in 1,000 directions, to make you reactive, distracted, and scattered. But if you can hold your focus in a world built on distraction, you become powerful. You start moving differently. You think clearly, act precisely, and live intentionally. Focus turns chaos into clarity. It allows you to channel all your energy into one direction instead of leaking it everywhere. That's what separates those who achieve from those who only wish. And don't think mental control is something you achieve once and keep forever. It's a daily battle. Every morning you wake up, your mind is waiting to see who's in charge today. You or it. If you don't take control early, it will take control for you. That's why you start your day with discipline, because the first few decisions set the tone for the rest. Hit snooze once, and you've already told your mind that comfort wins. Get up and move, and you've already reminded it who's boss. Every small act of control compounds. You can't buy peace of mind. You can't talk your way into mental strength. You have to earn it through repetition and resistance. Just like muscle grows through stress, the mind grows through struggle. Every challenge is training. Every hard day is a workout. Every failure is feedback. That's the process. You can't avoid it. You can only learn to use it. The people who run from discomfort never build mental control because they never face enough pressure to shape it. You have to be willing to suffer a little, to sit with pain, to stay when your brain tells you to leave. That's where control is forged. Once you master your mind, the rest becomes easier. You stop overreacting with your mouth. You stop making emotional decisions with your money. You stop letting moods dictate your moves. Because now everything runs through a filter of control. You don't act from impulse. You act from intention. You don't speak to express. You speak to direct. You don't spend to escape. You spend to build. Everything aligns because the command center, your mind, is under control. The truth is, life isn't about avoiding chaos. It's about being calm in the middle of it. Control your mind and the chaos loses power. Control your mind and you stop being a victim of your thoughts, your emotions, your circumstances. You stop existing and you start living with purpose. That's the highest level of freedom there is. The ability to think clearly when the world is loud, to stay steady when life gets heavy, and to move with direction when everything tries to pull you off course. Control your mind and you control everything. Because the moment you take charge of what happens inside you, nothing outside you can break you. That's the real victory. Not in winning every battle, but in mastering yourself enough that no battle can take away your focus, your peace, or your purpose. When you reach that level of control, you're not just living, you're leading yourself. And that's what life is about. Accountability is the mirror that most people refuse to look into. It's not pretty, It's not flattering, and it doesn't care about your excuses. It shows you the truth exactly as it is, and that's why people run from it. They'd rather blame circumstances, people, timing, luck, anything but themselves. But until you take full accountability for your life, you'll never have real control. You can't control what you won't own. Accountability is freedom, because the moment you take responsibility, you take your power back. You stop being a victim and you start being the architect of your life. Every part of control, your mouth, your mood, your money, your mind, depends on accountability. You can't fix what you keep excusing. You can't master what you keep blaming on others. The truth is simple. Every result in your life is a reflection of your choices. Where you are right now is because of what you've done or refused to do. That's not meant to shame you. It's meant to empower you. Because if your choices built this reality, then new choices can build a new one. But that only happens when you stop pointing fingers and start looking in the mirror. The problem is that accountability feels heavy. It means admitting that your failures are yours. It means facing the fact that you wasted time, that you broke promises to yourself, that you let emotions lead instead of discipline. It's easier to blame someone else. It's easier to say life's unfair than to say I was lazy. But every time you dodge accountability, you give away control, you hand your power to whatever you're blaming. And the more you do that, the weaker you get. You start believing that life happens to you, not through you. That mindset will keep you stuck forever. Accountability is not about guilt. It's about ownership. It's saying, yeah, I messed up, but I own it. I created this and I'll fix it. That's strength. That's maturity. That's control. Because when you own the problem, you also own the solution. You can't rebuild your mind, your mood, your habits, or your finances without accountability. Everything starts with that brutal honesty that says, this is on me. When you start living accountable, people around you will get uncomfortable. They'll call you harsh, obsessed, intense. Because accountability shines a light on their excuses too. It forces people to see their own lack of control. But that's not your problem. You're not here to make people comfortable. You're here to build discipline. You're here to get better. Accountability is the path to that. And it's lonely because most people don't have the guts to walk it. When you live with accountability, your mouth changes. You stop saying things you don't mean. You stop making promises you can't keep. You stop lying to yourself about how hard you're working. You speak only what you're ready to back up with action. That's how you earn your own respect. When you say something, you do it. When you fail, you admit it. That's how you build trust with yourself. And once you trust yourself, no one's opinion can shake you. Your mood changes too. When you're accountable, you don't waste time blaming others for how you feel. You don't let people control your emotions because you've accepted that your reaction is your responsibility. You can't control how others act, but you can control your response. Accountability gives you emotional freedom because you stop being reactive and start being deliberate. You stop saying, they made me mad, and start saying, I let that get to me and I won't next time. That's growth. That's maturity. That's control. Accountability with your money means you stop pretending your spending doesn't matter. You stop saying, I deserve this when you haven't earned it. You stop justifying bad financial decisions with emotion. You face the truth about where your money goes and why. You start budgeting, planning, saving, investing, not because it feels good, but because it's the right thing to do. You stop living like a victim of bills and start living like the commander of your finances. That's freedom. And accountability with your mind, that's the hardest one because it means calling out your own laziness, your own fears, your own excuses. It means admitting that most of the barriers you face are self-made. You've got to stop blaming distractions, bad luck, or lack of time. Everyone has the same 24 hours. The difference is who takes ownership of them. When you're accountable, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop saying, I'll do it later. You do it now because you said you would. You keep promises to yourself like they're contracts. That's how you build a mind that obeys, not complains. Accountability is also about consistency. It's not something you do when it's convenient. It's a lifestyle. You hold yourself to a standard whether anyone's watching or not. You don't need applause to stay disciplined. You don't need someone to remind you of your goals. You remind yourself. Accountability means you don't get to take days off from responsibility. You're either in control or you're not. You're either leading your life or being led by excuses. It's not about being perfect. You'll still fail. You'll still fall short. You'll still make mistakes. But accountability means you own it fast. You learn, adjust, and move forward without self-pity. You don't waste time explaining your failure. You fix it. You don't justify bad habits. You change them. You don't complain about circumstances. You adapt. That's what separates disciplined people from everyone else. Accountability makes you unstoppable because nothing can hold you hostage when you take full responsibility for everything. People think accountability is a burden, but it's actually liberation. When you stop blaming others, you stop waiting on others, you stop waiting for perfect conditions, for someone to save you, for luck to change. You realize you are the condition. You are the change. You are the cause and the effect. That's where real power begins. When you understand that everything in your life is a reflection of your discipline, your focus, and your choices. When you control your mouth, mood, money, and mind, accountability becomes the glue that holds it all together. It's the system that keeps you in check. You can't build lasting control without it, because control without accountability turns into arrogance. You start thinking you're always right, and that's when discipline dies. Accountability keeps you humble. It keeps you honest. It reminds you that growth never stops. The hardest person to be accountable to is yourself. It's easy to fool others. You can post online, act motivated, look productive, but deep down you know the truth. You know when you're slacking. You know when you've lied to yourself. You can't hide from that mirror. That's why most people avoid self-accountability. It forces them to face the version of themselves they pretend doesn't exist. But that version is where all your growth is hiding. That version is where change begins. So every day, you've got to check yourself. Ask, did I give everything today? Did I follow through? Did I control my emotions? Did I act with discipline? And if the answer is no, don't run from it. Fix it. Do better tomorrow. That's what accountability is. Not punishment, but progress. Not guilt, but growth. It's how you sharpen yourself day after day until you become unshakable. Once you live accountable, you stop fearing failure because you understand that every mistake is just another chance to adjust. You stop caring about other people's opinions because you know they don't define you. You do. You stop living in denial and start living in truth. And truth, even when it hurts, is freedom. Accountability turns chaos into structure, weakness into strength, and excuses into action. The moment you say, everything in my life is my responsibility, you become untouchable because now no one can take your power. No one can blame you. No one can save you. You are in control of your words, your emotions, your habits, your mind. That's freedom. Not comfort, not ease, not avoidance. Real freedom is ownership. The kind where no matter what happens, you know you can handle it because you built yourself to handle it. Accountability is the foundation of everything strong. You can't master your mouth, mood, money, or mind without it. It's the discipline that keeps you honest when motivation fades. It's the structure that keeps you moving when comfort tempts you to stop. It's the voice that says, this is on you, so fix it. That voice doesn't shame you, it shapes you. And when you listen to it every day, when you live by it, you become something rare, someone truly in control of their life. That's the real freedom to wake up knowing you owe no one excuses because you held yourself accountable to every choice, every word, every action. That's the kind of control no one can take from you. That's the kind of life worth building. Consistency over feelings, that's where real control is built. Everyone wants to feel good before they act. They wait for motivation, for the right energy, for the perfect time. But the truth is, that time never comes. Waiting on feelings is waiting on weakness. You'll never rise by doing what you feel like. You rise by doing what you promised yourself you'd do, especially when you don't feel like it. Consistency is what separates the talkers from the doers, the average from the disciplined, the emotional from the controlled. Every part of your life, your mouth, your mood, your money, your mind, depends on consistency. Without it, nothing sticks. You can talk discipline, you can post about it, you can dream about it, but if you don't show up day after day, you'll stay the same. The people who win are not the most gifted. They're the ones who refuse to skip the work, no matter how tired, bored, or unmotivated they feel. That's where control is forged, in the repetition, in the grind, in the quiet hours when no one's clapping for you. The problem with most people is that they live by emotion. They wake up and check how they feel before they decide what to do. If they feel good, they move. If they feel bad, they stop. And they wonder why they never grow. Feelings are unreliable. They shift with weather, sleep, moods, and opinions. You can't build a disciplined life on something that's unstable. Consistency means you move no matter what's happening inside or around you. You show up on bad days like it's your best day. That's how you train your mind to obey instead of negotiate. Your mouth will tell you lies to protect your comfort. It'll say, take a break. You deserve it. It'll say, you can start tomorrow. But consistency doesn't speak that language. Consistency doesn't care about comfort. It cares about standards. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. That's how you earn your own respect. Every time you act against your feelings, you build strength. Every time you choose action over emotion, you build control. Think about it. Your body and mind are like soldiers waiting for orders. If the commander keeps changing plans because of feelings, the whole army collapses. But if the orders are clear, show up, execute, repeat, then everything runs with discipline. That's consistency. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting, but it's everything. You can't control your mood, your money, or your mind without first mastering the habit of showing up no matter what. Consistency isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. You'll mess up sometimes. You'll fall off track, but you don't stay there. You get up faster. You don't drown in guilt. You move in discipline. One day off doesn't ruin you. Quitting does. The difference between the strong and the weak is not that the strong never fail, but that they never let failure become their routine. They reset, refocus, and return. Every time. When you're consistent, your mood stops controlling you. You learn that you can work through sadness, stress, anger, or fatigue. You realize emotions are just signals, not stop signs. You feel tired, but still move. You feel unmotivated, but still act. You feel fear, but still face it. That's where growth happens. Every rep you do when you're drained, every task you finish when you're not in the mood, every time you stay on track when no one's watching, you're building something bigger than progress. You're building self-respect. You're proving to yourself that you're in control. Your money reflects consistency too. Saving once won't change your life. Investing once won't make you rich. But doing it regularly, managing your spending, tracking your habits, that's what builds stability. People who chase quick wins and emotional spending stay broke. People who commit to the process, even when it's boring, build freedom. It's not about one big move. It's about small, repeated, disciplined actions. Consistency turns control into a lifestyle instead of a phase. And then there's the mind, the hardest part to keep steady. The mind wants comfort. It looks for shortcuts, for the easy way out. But consistency kills that weakness. Every time you stick to your plan, even when you're tired, your mind learns obedience. You stop overthinking, you stop doubting, you stop hesitating, you just act. And the more you act, the stronger your mind gets. That's how you create momentum. Discipline becomes automatic and emotions lose their power over you. Consistency is built through structure. You can't depend on motivation, so you create systems that force action. You set routines that don't ask for your permission. You schedule your workouts, your reading, your work time, and you follow it like a contract. You don't give yourself the option to skip. That's how control becomes your default. You don't wake up and decide whether you'll show up. You already decided long ago. When you live like this, your life becomes predictable in the best way. You can trust yourself because you know you'll do what needs to be done. You don't need to hype yourself up. You've built habits that carry you even when your mind doesn't want to cooperate. That's the power of consistency. It removes the decision fatigue, the emotional chaos, the endless excuses. You stop living in reaction and start living in direction. The truth is, consistency isn't exciting, but it's rare. That's why so few people have control. They quit when it gets uncomfortable. They think if it doesn't feel right, it must not be right. But the best things in life rarely feel good while you're building them. Discipline is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. But quitting, that's misery disguised as relief. You can escape work for a moment, but you can't escape the regret that comes after. Consistency protects you from that regret. It makes sure your future self respects the choices your current self is making. When you start living consistent, everything changes. Your mouth speaks truth because you only say what you'll do. Your mood stabilizes because you stop letting feelings dictate effort. Your money grows because you stop chasing impulses. Your mind strengthens because repetition sharpens focus. Consistency turns chaos into control. It's the foundation of everything strong, stable, and unshakable. The best part, consistency doesn't require talent. You don't have to be special. You don't have to be motivated. You just have to decide that no matter what happens, you won't stop showing up. That's it. That's the whole secret. Discipline beats mood. Effort beats emotion. Action beats talk. Every single day you show up, you're putting one more brick in the wall of control. You're building a fortress that no storm can knock down. The world is full of people who start strong and fade fast. They get fired up for a week, maybe a month, and then vanish when it stops being fun. Don't be that. Be the one who's still standing when everyone else has quit. Be the one who trains, studies, works, builds, even when no one notices. Because at the end of the day, results don't care about feelings. Progress doesn't care about motivation. Control doesn't care about moods. The only thing that matters is consistency. And the truth is, once you master consistency, you become unstoppable. You don't need to feel ready. You just move. You don't wait for confidence. You create it through action. You don't chase motivation. You generate it by keeping promises to yourself. That's real control. Not a burst of energy, not a wave of hype, but a steady fire that never goes out. So when your feelings start talking, when your mind says, not today, remember this. You don't owe your emotions obedience. You owe your discipline respect. Every day you ignore your feelings and choose consistency, you're proving you run your life. That's what control is. That's what freedom is. Not comfort, not ease, but the ability to do what needs to be done every day, no matter what. That's how you master your mouth, mood, money, and mind. That's how you take full control. Consistency is the proof that you don't just talk discipline, you live it. Because control isn't about what you do once. It's about what you do always, every day, no matter how you feel. Every step, every rep, every choice, done with intent, done with discipline, done with consistency. That's how you win.